Hey guys, I'm JanetOnOccasion, and today we're playing another Total War Warhammer 2 Battle Replay. So, this one is just surprising, actually. When I first loaded this up, I was amazed that he could actually build this army. So this is zachbsain versus Zero, and zachbsain plays the High Elves against the Lizardmen. And, I mean, when you look at this, 3 Sisters of Avalon, and yet he has ample troops to protect them. And that is rare, you know, that is rare to be able to go that much involved, especially when one of the protecting units is Phoenix Guard. These are really expensive units, but he saved himself a lot of money. He's got Teclis, who is actually pretty cheap, and if you're going for one of the other lords, then generally you bring a spellcaster or, you know, bring a couple of nobles or whatever. That generally is the case, so just having the Lord and Hero contingent be just Teclis, it does save a lot of time. So the net is pretty vital when you have such great range. You need to be able to pin things in place if need be. Also enfeebling foe to whittle things down, and regrowth to heal things back up. Also here you can see Silver Helms and Silver Helms. There is an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower to help whittle down dinos, which is very nice. Bunch of Spearmen that can hold off with a really good melee defense, but you know, they will lose. They will lose in any frontline fight they end up in. They're just good at surviving. That's the thing, they don't have to be the damage dealer. That's what all the archers are for. So Sisters of Avalon, huge armor-piercing missile damage, super useful there. Also over here, you can see there are a couple additional units. There's some Illyrian Reavers, and they're getting stuck in straight away because they want to start probing, start being a nuisance to slow all this stuff down. Because the longer the Eagle Bolt Thrower can shoot, the longer the Sisters of Avalon can shoot at things, the better. So you've got to delay that front line. If these guys all come crashing in, suddenly a lot of your DPS are going to be wrapped up in melee where it doesn't want to be. So, over here, you can see that our Croxagores, 2 units of Croxagores, and you don't often see a lot of Croxagores, to be honest, but they do have kind of a dual purpose. Obviously, they're good sort of armor-piercing anti-infantry, which can help against, you know, anything in the front line. And with their high armor, spearmen can't really dent them very easily. So even against cheap anti-large, they'll do great. So, you know, they're not bad. But also, they add a lot of mass to the front line. So if dragon princes and things are charging in, any cavalry like that, they're going to be able to save a lot of the infantry from just getting bowled over. So they're actually pretty damn useful like that. Also here you can see Saurus Old Blood. Gotta love the Saurus Old Blood. I'm a big fan of the Saurus Old Blood. You can see here he has the Amulet of Itzel, which will give him 66% damage resistance, which will really help, you know, from being shot at by all that stuff, because it's damage resistant, so it's all damage will be negated from that. It's lovely. Also here you can see there are some horned ones and some horned ones. So these guys, really good stat line, really impressive stat line, and they are pretty damn quick at 78 speed. So they're going to be a really good counter to other heavy cavalry, but also they can just get some great charges into any armoured units. Things like Swordmasters, if they happen to make an appearance, then, you know, these guys can run them down easily. Cohort Sotek are unbreakable, of course, and the Saurus Warriors and the Skinks in the front line can easily match up against most units they're going to be facing in the front line. Last but not least, we got the Skink Priest of Heavens with nothing but Wind Blast. That's really all you need. That's really all you need. You've got numbers, and if the enemy brings numbers, then they're going to be flimsy things like Spearmen that you can just hit with a Wind Blast and wipe out the entire unit in 1 or 2 spells. So, very worthwhile. I mean, one spell definitely get rid of the martial prowess, and then the Skinks can just run through them. So it's pretty great. So over here, obviously, you can see the Croxagores are taking a bit of a beating. You want to get rid of them first. Really good damage dealers. And that's a thing that you want to get rid of quicker, right? The thing that can do the most damage is what you aim at with missiles, generally. That's what you want to deal with, because once these guys get involved, they're going to start smashing through these units and help all of these guys get into the back line. So you've got to get rid of the damage dealers. You want these guys to be able to hold off against other things that can't necessarily do a lot of damage. So Croxagores are definitely a good target. Also, armor-piercing missiles, so it's, you know, it's a no-brainer. So over here you can see the horned ones are posturing. They're trying to make sure the cavalry can't come in. But over here, Silver Helms and Illyrian Reavers are pushing in to try and slow down these Saurus Warriors, but Illyrian Reavers just don't have the armor for sustained combat against something like Saurus Warriors. They are no good at that. Over here you can see the horned ones are taking quite a bit of damage, and definitely worth getting rid of them too. There's a lot of very valuable, scary units in here. Honestly, it's all pretty valuable and scary, because when most of the defense is just Spearmen, and the Sisters of Avalon aren't the best in melee, I mean, they're pretty good in melee, alright? They're pretty good, but they're not the best. They're quite flimsy with their low armor. All the Saurus Warriors are super scary. All of them. All of the Saurus Warriors can just kill most of what's in this army. So here you can see these horned ones have been pinned down, and they will be losing a lot of units. The Eagle Bolt Thrower and the Sisters of Avalon are obviously helping out too. Wind Blast over here actually going for the Phoenix Guard, which is interesting. But if you can whittle down the Phoenix Guard, they'll lose their martial prowess and be a lot easier to fight them. So you can see here a regrowth is being procced on top of them at any second now. Nope, 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 he didn't do that in time. He quickly changed his mind, doing Enfeebling Foe on the Saurus Old Blood. That might cost the Phoenix Guard their martial prowess. So over here, you can see a bunch of cavalry, all in a massive blob. See Silver Helms and Silver Helms in here, 1 unit gone. But the Horned ones are getting taken care of. Over here, these Horned ones have managed to get in, but they are super injured. They've been taking a lot of damage. And with the Enfeebling Foe on that Saurus Old Blood, he wasn't able to get as much damage in as you'd like. And the Phoenix Guard appear to be kind of everywhere right now. They seem to have been trying to go for this group as well. So a lot of point-blank fire on the Saurus Old Blood is going to whittle him down. But of course, he is very mobile. He's got good mass. He can keep pushing through. So the Illyrian Reavers are trying to add some mass, try to stop him from moving so much. And that is really worthwhile. Over here, though, very good move by Zero to try and collapse this flank, because that will free up a very healthy unit of Saurus Warriors that can get in here and do some work. Another Wind Blast doing some significant damage to the Sisters of Avalon, and they really need to be shut down quickly. Their damage potential is ludicrous. So here you can see the Spearmen did get taken care of, but now the Horned ones have rampaged, and it means they can be running straight into... Hopefully, it's mostly the Sisters of Avalon, but I mean, there are Phoenix Guard and Spearmen in here too they don't really want to be facing. But this has freed up these Saurus Warriors that can now get involved in the back line, and that's going to be very scary. So a net on the Saurus Old Blood, but the Amulet of Itzel has been used to negate a bunch of this damage, and that is such a great move. It is great to keep that for when he is netted, because essentially wasting that net, sure there's a lot of damage going on, but so much of it is ignored that it's almost not worth it. That Saurus Old Blood he can just get back into a fight, and he hasn't really lost much health as a result, so it's not too bad. So yeah, beautifully played there with the Amulet. So now you can see the Equal Bolt Thrower still shooting these Croxagores to make sure they don't come back, and that is definitely worthwhile. The Illyrian Reavers charging in, and a Wind Blast not quite getting the good hits he would have liked, but god, that could have been bad. That could have been a whole unit of Spearmen wiped out. But you can see the Lizardmen are just swarming in. There are so many groups of infantry running in here. And, of course, the terror from the Saurus Old Blood is going to help break one thing after another. I mean, this flood of lizards is a real problem. Obviously, the Phoenix Guard are great for dealing with them, and the cavalry can hold them back, but most of the cavalry is depleted now. I mean, there's some over here, some Silver Helms that are chasing off the Croxagores, which I think they should come back. Honestly, I think they should come back. So you can see another net on the Saurus Old Blood, and obviously the Amulet of Itzel has been used now. So that is very useful. But he is near enough to enemies to start getting some combat animations, and that is meaning he is avoiding some fire. So that is a bit scary, but it looks like Phoenix Guard are going off this way to try and deal with the Saurus Warriors, while Spearmen are going for the Saurus Old Blood while he is getting shot at. It's going to keep him busy, and he is taking some good damage, but look at this. Cohort of Sotek getting in round the back. These Saurus Warriors... Ooh, that's a mistake. They're chasing off those Illyrian Reavers. They need to pull back. If these guys were pulling back, they could break these 2 units in seconds and get into the back of all of these. They could get into the back of all of them. And now you can see the Saurus Old Blood trying to hunt down Teclis. And Teclis isn't really going to win one-on-one here. That's not really his bag. But the Potion of Shiroi giving him 44% damage resist is a really nice thing to do. It's not going to give him the healing, but it doesn't matter. He wants to not take damage at all. He just doesn't want the balance of power to shift. So he's going to use that early. Another Wind Blast, though, doing significant hurt to the lightly armoured Spearmen. And here, yeah, the Saurus Warriors have got into the Sisters of Avalon, and with their massive weapon strength, they will do a ton of damage to such just poorly armoured units, especially once they've lost their martial prowess and can't avoid being hit altogether. So over here, more Saurus Warriors dealing with Sisters of Avalon. It's a lot of problems emerging. So here, Saurus Old Blood has been chasing down Teclis a lot, but he's going to have to get back involved because there are a lot of High Elves, and they are holding their ground rather well. You know, these Phoenix Guard are doing a great job holding on here against these Saurus Warriors, and Cavalry have been trying to cycle charge, and now another rear charge from Spearmen. Things are going quite well here. They're holding really nicely. And there are still some Sisters of Avalon kicking around, but not as many as you'd like. Not as many as you'd like. Zero has been very good to shut them down as a priority. Over here, yet another net, and the Saurus Old Blood is taking damage once again, while the rest of the units are just trying to cycle charge, just to get rid of this infantry. He needs to get rid of this infantry if he's going to last. But, I mean, these Sisters of Avalon are nowhere near anything dangerous, which is great. I mean, I say that, the Saurus Old Blood could dive on top of them and do some serious hurt, but other than that, you know, it's kind of fine. And here you can see Teclis, he is a match for the Skink Priest. He should be able to deal with the Skink Priest, and he's going to need to, because that Wind Blast is so cheap, but you could wipe out all of these Spearmen in one cast, and that's not okay. So he's doing his best to shut them down, and you see the Saurus Old Blood trying to help break things down the line, but he is taking just a horrible amount of damage from these Sisters of Avalon. I reckon he should have gone for them. I mean, sometimes it's nice just to avoid them and try and help out the rest of your units, but I think in this case, he would have been better off. He would have been better off just shutting these guys down, quickly terrifying them, and then coming to help. Because he can cover ground pretty quickly. He can cover ground pretty damn fast. But, I mean, if he gets netted again, I don't see him getting out of this. So, cold-blooded, just to keep his leadership high enough so he doesn't break. Because if he breaks, he's going to be running in a straight line, he's going to take every arrow. So here, more cycle charging for Silver Helms. These Silver Helms have... oh, yep, it is Silver Helms. They've broken once again. And, yeah, it looks like the Saurus Old Blood's on his last legs. Only 700 health. And the Phoenix Guard are still fighting, which is pretty unbelievable that they're still going. But you can see army losses is now triggering. And that's it. Looks like that's going to be it. It's a real shame that Saurus Old Blood had survived. You know, he could have dealt with most of the threats that were remaining. Honestly, I think if he'd gone for those Sisters of Avalon, he would have had enough health to keep the balance of power in check, and just to pick off units, you know, whenever he needed to. Because Teclis can't sway the battle as much as a Saurus Old Blood can. Not when it's this kind of battle this late in the game, where there's very little magic left to use. So I think that's a real pity. I think it's just the one mishap there with the Saurus Old Blood, not just trying to stop those archers. Because that damage added up very quickly, and it just caused the balance of power to move too quickly, you know? And, yeah, army losses happens. It happens, guys. It happens. But yeah, beautifully played. I was amazed he could afford all this. You know, having the Phoenix Guard and all the Sisters of Avalon, and then still have, you know, some half-decent cavalry, a bolt thrower, and, you know, a really solid Lord choice. This is really nice. This was beautifully played. I really like this build. It's very surprising. It's very surprising. Usually when people go all in with things like Sisters of Avalon, they just don't have the units to protect them. They just don't have the numbers after that. But he made sure he did, you know, even with some little, you know, better units kicking around there. It was very nice. Love this build. And I really like this one. It's really interesting. It's great to see Horned Ones. You rarely see them against so many units. Horned Ones are good because they just have a good base, like, stat line. They just have good stats. And great armor piercing. They're lovely units. I really rate them. I really love them a lot. It's great to see them being used. And of course, Saurus Warriors just beat the crap out of Spearmen. Saurus Old Blood, always a nice choice. And Heavens, great for getting rid of the numbers. If you really want to just outnumber everything, yeah, bring Heavens. Love it. Really well played by both players here. Super close match, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. Guys, if you also enjoyed it, please do comment, like, and subscribe. And remember to click that bell that I'm trying to remember to remind people to do, because that's important, you know, to get notified, because you know what YouTube's like. I'm sure you've seen all the other videos talking about how silly YouTube is with notifications. So remember to click that bell. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.